Who's cooking the most in your house right now?
Aaron probably. But Kate bakes all the fucking time. No, all the time. I just eat. I'm gonna grab a couple books then.
Go for it. That's why I was like, you're gonna have to do some prepping for this.
I have 6 books in front of me.
Okay, that was what I started doing. I was like, let me just pick 3. Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining the Be More podcast. This is Brittany.
I'm Maria, and today we're talking about books, which we just decided 5 minutes ago.
Yes, we did. But we were on the same wavelength.
We were, because I looked, because I'm reading a book right now, and I was like, oh, maybe we should talk about books tomorrow because we don't have a topic. And then you're like, oh, we should talk about books. And I was like, oh, perfect.
My brain is open and receptive. I am on the same wavelength, man. Okay. All right. So, okay, wait. So can I bring up the book that, there's so many good things in these books, but can I bring up the book that I saw and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about this book, and see if you like have this remembrance?
Okay. Wait, is it from me? I'm confused. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, go. Oh, yes. You know, yep, go ahead. I know what it is now.
To you? Okay. So Maria, when I used to go to Maria's house, she used to always just be at at her computer desk. And yeah. I would be in her room.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, that's true. And I would be in her room and I would be like sitting on the floor. And because also something that hasn't changed.
Yeah, literally.
And I would just be sitting and like staring at like her book collection. Like I'd be like she had this little this stand in the corner of her room that her TV was on the top of, and like all of her video games were on the bottom of. I can like close my eyes and see it.
You see it? I don't know if they can see, but that's my whole bookshelf.
Oh yeah,
it's a whole thing now.
Well, now it's graduated. Yeah, like we've both graduated into having like fuller bookshelves.
Yep.
But it was just this adorable little stand, and I used to sit there and I used to just stare at it. And she had such an interesting like array of books. And there was like one book that I like every time I was there, I just kind of like kept my eye on. And I was like, it was so interesting though, because you had like, if I remember correctly, there was like a bunch of like non-fictions and like things that just like, I want to say, did you have Harry Potter there too? Like I'm trying to.
Yes, yes, because I have like 3 editions of Harry Potter. Like that's how much of a Harry Potter nerd I am still. Because I think when like the latest hardcover like set came out, I immediately bought it. I was like, I need this. I don't know why. I have 2 other ones, but yes, I had Harry Potter.
They're not going to read any different, but it's just nice to have them.
No, but the first edition Chamber of Secrets book has a typo in that. I am never letting that one go.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Anyways.
I remember like seeing her book collection, and there was this one book that was just stick out to me. So I was like, Maria, like, can I borrow this book? I really want to read it.
I just gave it to you.
No, you didn't, because do you not remember the rest of the story?
I honestly don't remember.
So I used to carry it. I have it in front of me, and I'm going to reveal it at the end. I used to carry it around with me everywhere because I'm that person who always has a book in their back. And I had it I also am that person who like super highlights the heck out of things and like has margins. That's why I like having books in my hand. Mm-hmm. I had the book in my bag and I had a highlighter in my bag, and the highlighter opened and leaked all over the book. So I was like, okay, Maria, I can't give this book back to you. I was like, let me get you another. I don't remember if I got you another one, if I gave you money for it, or what I did. Because I
honestly, now I can't remember. Now I'm thinking about the wrong book. Maybe it's the same book, but I just don't remember.
I feel like you were like, it's fine, don't worry about it. And I like just got you something else. You're like, just get me this instead. And I was like, okay. It was like a weird, whatever, make it right. And it was a book that I was like, this is so interesting because it doesn't.
What book is this?
It was so out of like the realms of like what we talked about and what all of your other books were about. Do you remember this book?
Oh my God, wait, I haven't seen this book in forever. No, I don't remember this book now. Wait.
So, and you can
why
still
did I
see
think, wait, why did I think
I don't know if you can see. Can you see all the highlighter, like the pink highlighter over it?
Why did I think I gave you a Toni Morrison book?
Because Toni Morrison's my favorite author, and we talked about her all.
I probably gave you that book. Was it Blue as I? Did I give you that one? I feel like I gave someone Blue as I. Was that before?
I've been the first person to like make me aware of it. I didn't read The Bluest Eye until I think like my freshman year of college, and then I like started diving into Toni Morrison, and now I have like all of her books.
But wait, I remember that cover, but I don't remember the plot of that book.
Okay, so I didn't really either, but it's funny and ironic how like
funny.
relevant it kind of is, because it's like just about like this journey of like these two best friends and like how they just lead, like they were friends in high school and they were friends as kids and then they grow up and like they have like a distance and then they're like issues within family. And
that's creepy.
And like I'm definitely gonna have to read it again. But it really is like it's a book about women's friendships. Martha Moody.
Okay.
It's a book about female friendship, and I was like, this is so interesting.
That's so funny.
And I was like, this is hysterical. Like, this is like the first, like, I have like a literal like staple of our friendship that like is just so relevant to it. It's just so funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's
I was thinking it was gonna be like Toni Morrison's Bluest Eye, because I think I remember giving that to you like as a present.
Oh yes, that's true, because I don't think I bought my first. I didn't know about Toni Morrison myself. I think
because I read that.
Okay, no.
I read.
Did you? You got me. I think you might have been the person who got me Beloved.
Oh, it was Beloved. It wasn't Bluest Eye. I read Bluest Eye.
Was what I read first.
Beloved creeped me out.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh, guys.
It's so good, but like it creeped me out. And I was like,
well, so did Bluest Eye.
I feel like Bluest Eye may have been creepier.
Yeah, in like a whole nother social.
In a whole different psychological aspect.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my god.
Guys, all right, we're super going, like, we're not planning to go off of this. If you haven't read a Toni Morrison book, please go read it.
Please do.
She's the reason why I love historical fiction, and why it's my favorite genre. But okay, so I think the reason why Beloved is creepy because there's this level of, like, it's definitely, like, this level of, like, supernatural, that to it, like, that mysticism.
But it's written so creepily.
Oh, yeah. Oh, beautiful. Like, in a way that, like, makes you feel things. And then the Bluest Eye is creepy because I feel like it's very much along the lines of like 1984 in the way that it like seems like fiction, but it's also like talks about the deeper levels of the way that things are screwed up in like society.
That's why it's creepy.
The Bluest Eye touches on that like racially, and like 1984 touches on that like, socioeconomically. Yeah, the Bluest Eye, and I think also too the way that she describes like sexual encounters, like physically painful, like in the the way that they talk about, like, oh my god, like you feel it and you're like you're so uncomfortable when you read her books. And I
read it in high school. I think I read Bluest Eye in high school, like senior year. I was like, oh, I'm creeped out right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
so good. Read something Toni Morrison. Those two are amazing. If you're not like if you're a little and
I think those are the only two I've ever read from her.
I don't even know what other ones I have that I've read, but
because those two I was like, this is amazing, but like also I don't know.
She's so amazing. Okay, so that wasn't what we were planning on talking about, but this is how books started with Maria.
Well, wait, I have
these libraries.
I also have a memory about, I don't know, you're not gonna remember this, but I do. So we used to walk to school together sometimes when we didn't have this was sophomore year for sure. So we couldn't drive yet, and I guess no one could bring us to school that day. I guess
that happened.
But also, like, we lived pretty close to the high school anyway, so it wasn't a big deal for us. But it was downpouring one day, sophomore year. We had one umbrella. I don't know why. We had one umbrella, so we were walking, and I was reading, you're not gonna know, but I was reading this book for sophomore year, Ernest Hemingway.
Okay.
This was in my backpack. Do you see how water damaged it is?
That's crazy.
I love this book. This is like probably one of my top 3 favorite books. I was reading this do you remember our history teacher in sophomore year? We had the same history class, and he made us do a paper on like a book.
Was this the first and last history class that I took?
It was U.S. History 1 or 2. Oh wait, no, it was junior year actually. It was U.S. History 2. So yes, it wasn't sophomore year. It was junior year, and we still couldn't drive because we were younger.
Well, we were summer babies, so we wouldn't have been able to do it until afterwards, or like, It
was junior year. It wasn't sophomore year. It was junior year. But yeah, he made us read.
I don't remember anything about that class because I didn't.
I hated that class.
That was probably my favorite part of that class, but
right.
Was not
so I picked this book. So I love the 1920s. Like I loved that era of writing for some reason. Like solid. This book is the European version of literally this plot. The Great
really?
Gatsby.
That's super cool.
I love it. I love it better than Gatsby.
I feel like I've heard of it a couple of times.
Yeah. So it has the same concept. There were also like best friends in real life. So
Oh, that's super cool.
I have all of F. Scott's. If anyone like is super close to me knows that I have every F. Scott book and probably almost every Hemingway book, because I love that era for some reason.
There's so
can't
many
tell
like
you why.
social things to discuss within that era for sure.
And it's also like
defined and like,
because they're like the lost generations, what they're called.
right.
And like I have another book here from that
That's why I
era,
keep going. I like it.
which I read in college. I took literally a 1920s American Lit class in
Oh,
college.
that's cool.
Because like I was like, I need to like find something that I like learning about. So I was like, oh, this seems cool. So
Yeah.
have you heard of this book, Ulysses?
Oh yeah.
So good. Like, and like what kills me is that sometimes he writes in like poems in here, and then sometimes he writes in like Shakespearean like play format.
That's
And
cool.
then it's all set in one day too, is what is the coolest part.
Insanity.
Put in 3 different persons like perspectives.
Yeah, I've heard so many good things about that.
The last like bit of it, the last chapter, I think, or last part, whatever he calls it, is one run-on sentence, and it goes on for like 80 pages or something.
Jesus Christ.
It's so good.
So you like
and like it's, how do I describe it? It's like people, like it's not like supernatural. It's not like, I love Harry Potter. Like that's a whole different story. Like that's like also my thing. But when it comes to like novels like that, like I'll read those stuff. I'll read like Sylvia Plath. It's like real people.
Yeah,
You know?
but you also like all of those authors only have like, it's not like it's not there's a level of like intellectual like intention in the way that they write.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like what you were just saying about like Ulysses, like I've heard about like the different ways, like the grammatical like intentions.
Yeah. Right.
That
and like Hemingway
kind of challenge the way you write.
Yeah. And like Hemingway is funny because the Sun Also Rises, and like any of Hemingway's work, his like philosophy is like, if this doesn't add any intention to my sentence, I'm not gonna add it.
Yeah.
So it's like very straight to the point, very blunt. Like
they're very strategic in the way that they use their words.
And then F. Scott, I mean, he has metaphors all over the place in Great Gatsby, and like that's just the juxtaposition between the two of them. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But it's all within the same realm of like their plot is like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life, and like being a high school kid, I'm like, yeah, same. So like that appealed to me, and it still does. Because like I still know what the fuck I'm doing with my life.
I mean, whatever, it's fine. Who does? I think my favorite part about that is that the reason why you read what you read are so very true to your brain. Like on some level, even though you're trying to like just enjoy reading, like your analytical brain, it definitely taps into like your strategic writing, which is super cool.
Even Harry Potter is so smart in the way that J.K. Rowling has written it, because it stems from like different cultures, like different ancient, like there's meaning behind like the words that she specifically chose, like as spells and like the places and stuff. You know, like there's some research that she did behind it. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty smart too.
Yeah. I could not make it through the first chapter of the first Harry Potter book.
Really? Don't worry. Both my sisters have not. Okay. Well, the youngest one has read the first 2, but even so, it's such a struggle.
My 5-year-old nephew is like through, I don't know where he's gotten like through the first book already.
Are you serious?
With his parents, but like.
But still.
You know what my brother was like with Harry Potter, so I don't think he really has much of a choice. But yeah, that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't. I didn't.
I don't blame you. A lot of my close friends have never read Harry Potter.
And it's not that I don't like that genre or like I'm not interested in it, but I really, really think that I feel like I am because I'm such a strong like visual person, when I see it in a movie, like I think it ruins the experience of reading it in a book first.
Okay. I see. Yeah.
Like separate the two afterwards. Like I had that, like we're going to talk about like books and phenomenons of like observation, like Twilight.
I read that first. I thought it was good. I love that shit.
Were amazing. Like the books were so like indulgent. They were so good. But if I had seen the movies first, I probably would have to read it. I hear everybody who talks about Harry Potter saying that, like, you know, the movies are good, but it's not the same as reading the book. And
there's so much that so I read it every so often. I haven't read it in a while, but every so often when I do reread it, I'm like, I forgot about this. Like, there's so much detail within the words, and I'm like, oh, right, like this happened. That didn't happen in the movie.
And I just really feel like, that's why I feel like books, like when things get into cinema, like it ruins it for me. I feel like if you're painting a picture, you can't erase that picture.
Mm-hmm.
You're just gonna like make associations, and then you're like, oh, I know what happens next. It's just, I just can't.
It's okay.
I can't bring myself to do that. I don't know why. So that's my thing. I have to make sure that I won't read the book. And honestly, it becomes the same thing with like comic books.
Yes,
right?
You're
like,
right.
I get frustrated when like I mean, this is totally not relevant, but relevant. Like if I have like read a comic about something and then I'll see a movie, I'll be like, well, no. Like it just ruins the experience for me.
Yeah.
And I get frustrated. So it's just like, I am definitely like, if it's a chicken or the egg situation, like it's a book and like, or like a book and then like the visual aspect of it, because I cannot do the other way. But yeah, I'm surprised this hasn't become a movie. I guess it's really not that popular. Like it's like,
I guess not. I mean, because I also used to go around Barnes & Noble and just like look at whatever, like when I was younger, like I would just be like, oh, that looks cool, and I would buy it.
So many, which is why, you know, like you ended up working there. Like,
I was saying, and then I ended up working there, and I don't even remember if I bought that many books while I was working there.
That's probably better off, man. My goodness. But I like, those are things that, like book sales, and like I remember.
Oh my god, like
they used to do those book boxes and you could get as many as you want for like 50 cents. Oh,
or even the mall too. They had those like the library was going.
kiosk scenes.
Yeah.
And the so one of my really close friends from, and I still have so many of the books. One of my really close friends from college has this great aunt who had this like immense book collection. Like just I like can't imagine what they all look like together. And the one time that I got to like go to her house, the first time that I met her, she, oh, by the way, like she asked Shannon's family if Shannon, so I'm talking about you. I wasn't going to use your name, but it came out of my mouth. Sorry.
Isn't that the funniest thing? I'm like, I try not to use people's names, but then like, oh, right.
Well, she would have known this was her, and anybody who knows her knows that this is what her, like, she's like family to them. So, and so she like had all these like bags of books, and like, you know, no one in her family really wanted them, and I like, my face lit up. I was like, yeah, I'll take the whole thing, and I'll like, do what I want. And I got these like books that it's so fun. I feel like you learn a lot about a person and what they like have read, right? And like this woman's entire lifespan, and she was down the shore, so she like read a lot of like the shore novels.
I see. Yeah.
I never really like known anything about that. And speaking of like mysticism and like things like that, there's like a lot of that exists like in the shore area. So like, and it just got to like break me into like a new like genre of like reading. So like I found like a lot of these books that I started reading, and like just a bunch of random things like murder mysteries and like things about like government conspiracies and like.
Oh my god, I was such a big Dan Brown fan too.
That was one of the books and I have one of his books, and oh my gosh.
I have like all of his books, and I don't know, because Da Vinci Code was so good to me. Like that whole, because it was a series. There's one before Da Vinci Code, and then there's one after. I have them over there.
I love those books.
But they had like smaller one-offs with like, I think one of them is like, I don't remember, I think it's called Deception or whatever, and that talked about the CIA and like all this stuff. So like that was a whole different genre that I dived into randomly.
Yeah, and it's
so fun
to do that. It's so fun to do that. And it's just like, I feel like now I'm definitely reading more like self-education and self-development books.
I'm reading more nonfiction.
Yeah, because it's just the world of like self-education has become such a big world, and it's booming right now, and there's so many awesome resources out there, which are two books that like I definitely like pulled out that I wanted to go into. But what's awesome I think now is that I feel like there are so many books that they can't all be defined into like specific genres. Like I can't like, I'm sure there are like, and the list of genres probably ridiculous, but it's like my bookshelf is like a compilation of just like
random stuff.
super random things.
My bookshelf is, I mean, you know me, it's kind of organized.
Well, no, that sounds about right. I mean, look at the two of us. Like,
Organized
the two of
to
us.
like what my brain thinks. Like my top 2 shelves are like my favorite books, and then the middle like 3 or whatever are like the other books that aren't like YA young adult, and then the bottom shelves are like young adult and nonfiction. So even when my sisters come down here and need a book, I'm like, all right, look towards the bottom shelf because that's my young adult shit.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's like mentally, I'm like, all right, I can tell you which shelves you probably will like.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't really have them done like that. I relatively have. You know what I still have also that's connected to you?
What?
The Tagalog dictionary.
Oh.
I still have that.
That's amazing.
Like right next to my other dictionary,
Your other dictionaries.
Dictionary.
I've been trying to learn because I know the language. Like I know the language, but I don't know grammar. I don't know how to make sentences.
That's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part. But yeah. I have like basic Tagalog 1, level 2, whatever. But like I haven't cracked it open. Like I bought it, but like it's so hard to learn a language that way when I already know it. Because reading about it is so boring to me. I'm like, I know this, but like it's just the discipline.
You're already doing the application part.
Right. It's just like the discipline of like doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, my books are like random. So like I do have them relatively organized. So like I have like a lot of like my existential like yoga philosophies and like
yeah.
I like that stuff.
I need to read more of that stuff.
I still have, there are like books that my mother gave me because my mother is really like she's the reason why I like started seeing like reading, right, and like why I was able to come to my life because my mother reads a ton. But she definitely has a very specific genre, like horror, mystery, vampire.
Oh, really?
All of that stuff. She was so happy when I started reading Twilight because she was like, oh, "You're gonna like that." Like, But so I have like old like the original Frankenstein.
I love Frankenstein.
Yeah, but
Mary Shelley's brilliant.
Yes, but it's just funny because like these are things that I will never forget. That, like my mother was like, "Hey, you should try this." And then I have like the Inferno and like all of these like really fun books.
I've never read the Inferno and I really want to. Like I love the classics too, like Jane Austen.
Crazy. Yeah, I have like this. I have
Pride and Prejudice.
I have a lot of like spin-off.
Yeah.
What I would consider like they're not from her, but like a lot of like other like
that are inspired by
her.
Yeah.
Doing like more modern ways, which are super cool. But yeah, it's just like this Mod Podge of like books that are just interesting.
Can I also say like I love like Fight Club is one of my favorite books. Have you read this?
No.
You've never read it? Dude, I never knew what the hype was about Fight Club. Have you watched the movie?
Nope.
Don't watch the movie. You have to read the book. I'm going to literally lend you this. Okay. I've made so many people read this if they've never read it or watched the movie before.
It's so funny you just brought that up because I just read something yesterday that like made a reference about Fight Club.
Well, because Fight Club 3 came out, and I need that. It's a comic. Fight Club 2 was a comic, which I read, and then Fight Club 3 is also a comic. The first and original Fight Club is fucking brilliant. And this is Chuck Palahniuk's first ever book, and I have maybe 3 or 4 of his books, and they just keep getting better.
That's cool.
But he likes plot twists, and like you will never guess. Like I read a lot of books, and I read this. I actually remember I don't know what year I was, but I remember we were in college, and I was sitting in front of Scott Hall, like on a bench waiting for. This is how iconic this ending was. Like I was sitting in front of a bench waiting for class to start, and I read the last bit of it. And I literally sat there and I was like, that did not just happen. Like, it was one of those books. And I had to reread it like 3 times. I was like, no way, that just happened. Iconic. You have to read it.
I really am trying to just increase my my reading level because it's overwhelming when I think about all the books I want to read.
Same. I've like 5 books over there.
One day we'll just be able to like insert a chip.
And just or how
That's
about
the only way that I can see technology, but it's not the same.
I know, I get it, but like, a lot of people have started doing that.
I can't, like,
especially if you're driving around.
Yeah, like I love that. I do listen to those. Like some of the greatest books that I listened, like some of the greatest books that I enjoyed were listening to that because it's like a whole other level of like really feeling it when you hear somebody say it.
Yeah.
It's not the same. I want to.
That's fair. Same thing with ebooks. Like I can't do it. Like more power to people that can. Like good for you, but I physically, like, I need a book for some reason.
Yeah, it's definitely an industry that will never die because of people that like us who want to have
Like us. Like, I tried with I tried reading Infinite Jest on an ebook, which I have to read like as a book. Like, I haven't bought it yet, but I tried so hard. I was like, I can't do this. It's such a heavy book.
Even like textbooks. Like I'm like the nerd who is still getting textbooks. But I'm not in college anymore. And like even like my the books that come in, like the knowledge, like the resource base and like the database books, like I just need to have the book in front of me, like because I can't stand highlighting stuff. And then like, you like say I know they have the thing to take notes, but it's just not the same.
No, and also like your brain remembers better if I think you write it.
Yeah, it's like another level of like being able to recall.
Yeah.
But anyway, the two
anyways.
1 and 2. Sorry, I like got really distracted by normal stuff. And I think this is interesting because so have you heard of Brene Brown before?
Yeah, she's like one of those like inspirational speaker people.
Yeah,
and she's
like, it's funny because I never would have classified these as like self-help books because I feel like they're self-education books. Like
that doesn't help.
Self-help book like just doesn't sound right. But anyway, so this is like the first Brene Brown book that I read about, called Daring Greatly. I found it somewhere randomly, like I found all of my books. And it's funny because when I want to look at my brain was like thinking about this. The year on this is 2012, and then we're gonna also talk about the defining decade. And
so good.
On this, it says the first, it's 2013. Okay, so mind you now, I got this book probably around like a little after the time it had come out. And it was like, great, cool, let's get this. And then a year later, this one came out, but we're going on like probably almost a decade afterwards, I actually got my hand on this one. Which tells me I really need to reread this because I probably missed a lot of things that are relevant. But they overlap so well in like their themes or focuses. And these are like things that I feel like we could just have bigger conversations about too. So Daring Greatly like talks about, this was the first book that opened me up to realizing that like vulnerability isn't a terrible thing. Like it's a strength.
Cool.
And it talks about how like defining perfection. Ow, that was my elbow. I just smashed it. My desk. And like how to address like just be like different forms of vulnerability in your life.
Right. Which is so hard to talk about.
Yeah, and like she does it so eloquently, which is why I think that, and like relatably, which is why I think that people really just enjoy listening to her. But like, and one of the biggest things that like I always relate to and I still struggle with for myself is like addressing perfectionism and knowing that like like
you can't be perfect all the time.
Right. And like she like very clearly like, breaks it down to talk about how like perfectionism, there's a difference between being perfect versus personal excellence. And personal perfection is like a man-made thing that we made to make ourselves insane, and that striving like personal excellence is something that's attainable and something to work towards. And just like kind of like bashes perfectionism in a beautiful way. Like she says, we use it as a self-defense mode to say that like to make it seem like we can't be good enough to do what we want to do. And that's not a way that we can like work on
function
improvement. Yeah, it's like we're working to earn approval that we're never going to get because it's not it's like this weird psychological aspect.
It's like if I'm not going to get it at 100%, I'm not even going to try. Like that's not healthy.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he says. The fear of failing, making mistakes, not meeting people's expectations, and being criticized keeps us outside of the arena where healthy competition and striving unfolds.
Yep.
Like
exactly what that is.
This was like this is it like just very clearly like shines a light on like what we claim perfectionism to be and why we strive for perfection versus what it actually is. And it says like if I look perfect and I do everything perfect, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. Like that's not how that you function. And it's crazy because like where did all of that come from?
Like the thought of being perfect?
Yeah, like I'm so
like how does because like I have to struggle with that.
Yeah,
like I
so
struggle with that. Is it, I don't know, your upbringing, and also like I guess like academics also plays into it.
Like, going back to like our previous episode about talking about systems, right?
Right.
I think one of the biggest things that I really like I liked about this book, and I think the defining decade jumps into a lot too, is they talk about how this also talks about how why I probably like art the way I like art so much, and why you like probably love music the way you love music is because like there's no right or wrong really in music.
Yeah.
Or art, and you can just kind of play with it, and there's like that's flying around me somewhere. What is going on? Our windows are open, so everything that's outside's not coming in. But it was this opened me up, like this chapter specifically opened me up to realizing that like I create a lot of my own issues, because she says like when we try to like numb ourselves to things, or we try to keep ourselves busy, if we stay busy enough, then like the truth doesn't have the time to catch up with us, and we don't have the time to like realize what's going on. And it's just funny because I read this book, and again probably wasn't able to really
fully understand, like fully grasp, like you understood
and
it,
process all of it,
right?
And it like opened me up to some things, but I definitely have to like reread it again now, because after having
after going through college,
experiencing stuff with mental health and like becoming like my own worst enemy and having to like address that, it's such a good book. Like all of that, and like the defining decade. Okay. Love this book.
Love that book.
So this also talks about that, right? And one of the biggest things that I struggled with, and that I still like find myself struggling with, and we're gonna segue this in 3 different ways. Okay, so 3 things that I had to like really super teach myself. This is like weirdly turning into like a, I don't know, maybe this will be of some value to people.
It's a good book. Like if you're in your 20s, and even the author's like, even if you're not in your 20s and you feel this way, like feel in a way that I guess you don't have a sense of direction is what it is, right? Like if you're trying to feel your way through your different options.
Or like you feel like there's pressure on you to do a certain thing and you don't know what I felt like. I felt like I was doing a lot of what I was told, and then I was still not happy, and it's like, what is happening? But okay, I'm gonna try to like make this a smooth curve of like 3 points that she talks about. And like the way that I saw them relevant to my life. And I totally want to hear your thoughts on this. So I remember hearing when we were growing up that like high school, like, oh, don't wish you were older. Like high school is the best time of your life. Like it's never going to get better than this. Like this is the time when, you know, like you should be like defining yourself and all of this stuff. Hearing about that. And then putting like a ton of pressure on myself about what I was supposed to be doing in those years.
Your whole life,
and then feeling like super confused and overwhelmed when I like didn't feel like I had it figured out, and then like tried to present myself in a way that wouldn't make me feel worried about that, I guess. Sum that up. And this book so clearly says high school and our 20s are not the only time when we have our most self-defining experiences. After studies show that there are more times when we have our most self-defining, these are the most times when we have our most self-defining memories of ourselves. So it's like, and this is why I experienced probably what I experienced, and like the realizations and like the difficulties that I faced the last couple of years, is because I created really integral memories of who I was based off who I was trying to be versus who I actually was. Does that make sense?
Say that again.
So like, okay, so let me say this. My life is a puzzle, right? Right. And like through our lives, we have like a lot of self-defining experiences that help us put that puzzle together, right?
Right. Yeah.
But for me, the puzzle that I was trying to put together, I wasn't that put the picture on the puzzle. Other people had put the
people did
on the puzzles.
Yeah.
And I was trying to make a puzzle out of it.
As opposed to your self-defined picture of what you should be. It was just other people's pieces that you just compiled.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, when you're younger, I feel like it that's how it is.
Right.
You know?
Like,
but then it's like, no, it's not cool at all. It's your family. It's maybe sometimes your friends. It's your teachers that are like,
it's like just,
oh, you're one way. This should be like they only, because teachers only see a part of you like during school, not your full picture. So they have that one sense of you. You go home, you have another sense of you.
Yeah.
But then you're still trying to be those other people as opposed to the person that you want to be, you know, like, so it's like, it's hard to, when you're younger, to like find who you are. And it's still hard now.
Yeah. Which is
if you don't know, if you don't have the tools to figure out, all right, like this is what people think I am, but like, this is actually what I should be or want to be.
Yeah. and like have the, you know, it goes back to like that other aspects of like that vulnerability and like being able to really actually talk about that, like talk about it with yourself and then be able to talk about it with other people.
Talking to yourself is like something that people need to do more.
I know, right? And I do it a lot, and it makes you like, yeah, whatever. People say it's crazy, but all the good people.
I do it all the time now. Like
yeah,
I'm not like physically talking, but like in my head, I'm just like.
I do both. So either it's fine. Do both.
I think I talk it to myself when I'm like in my car by myself, but not like in.
That's where my brain does one too. I was like, I'm thinking about all the conversations.
Yeah.
I miss having my time with myself when I sit in the car.
Same.
But yeah, it's just like knowing the difference between, and like also the precedence of like the timeline that we put on it, right? Like you spend the rest of your life, you're going to spend the rest of your life defining yourself, and that can change at any point. But like the thing that's like integral about, and this, I'll talk about this later too, is like about that this time, like being in your teens, being in your 20s, is that these are the memories that you're going to have like most significant in how you shape what you're going to do in defining yourself. So it's like you having the input of other people, and it's like we really need to just start to train ourselves when we're younger as to like not do that, which is like a whole nother story.
That's a whole, maybe this generation. I feel like it's getting better as each generation progresses.
More outright about being able to define themselves versus letting other things define them. I think you're right. Yeah. But then like, okay, so going back onto like my point, so like my path, like I was experiencing a lot of that, and then I got to the point where I was okay, ready? All right.
Yeah.
This is how I felt, and this part is amazing. So okay. When I told Kathy about my association to the iPod commercial, she said that how she felt, that was how life felt for her, split into the point where she could not bring all the pieces of herself together. Kathy feared her shadow would take over one day and in exactly the wrong moment and ruin everything. But she also worried she would forever remain trapped in her in her pretend appearance of being happy, never truly knowing anyone and unable to get out. And that was like literally exactly how I used to feel. And sometimes I still get myself caught in that and I do it because like when you're, like you said, you have those different areas of like association, right? And you have all of these pieces of you that can get developed, but how can we bring all of those pieces together, right? And like when you try to do that for yourself, if you're trying to meet different expectations of like all these different areas, it's like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And I really had to just start to, like I always used to say, like I was waiting for that little stormy cloud to come.
Okay. All right.
Like you'd be there, you know, those commercials, those like, not to talk about drugs, but like, you know, those like drug commercials for like depression where it's like you put that smile up and it looks like you're smiling and then like you're behind it like meh.
Yeah, and all the side effects are like liver
way
failure.
Scarier. Yeah, right.
Like,
and this is, and it's not to like, if that's helps people, then do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Haven't taken that path.
But that's such a perfect example of like, on the outside.
Yeah, like the representative.
Like,
that's another book that I read that was amazing called Love Warrior that talks all about like the representative you send out. Yeah, it became a personal struggle that like I had, and it gets to the point where like if you're constantly always worried that like that cloud is going to be there and show up, then you're like, I used to get to the point where I was like, I'm never going to get out of this. Like I'm always going to go this way.
Which is such a shitty feeling.
Yeah, it's not a fun feeling. But it all comes back to, and the last little like thing I want to touch on in this book is like the way that when you want to be able to put yourself out there and you want to be able to like have that vulnerability, you want to talk about who you are, you want to define yourself, it takes like confidence to do that.
Yeah, and you have to.
Yeah, it takes like there's this big misrepresentation and misunderstanding that's being like just shared about what confidence is. Right? And like saying that like, you know, like the definition for confidence and the way that we see it in people are very different. Right? Because
confidence sometimes can get cocky, like to some people.
Right.
Which is annoying.
There's a difference between having that confidence, like having that cockiness and like showing that like nothing fears you, and then that like very quickly, especially like in our age and like younger people, can turn into this like sense of
empowerment, like
and invincibility.
Yeah.
Right. Which is an issue.
That's a whole teenage like puberty, early 20s issue.
Yeah. And like it comes there's that, And then there's like confidence, which is like people get confident and you build confidence because you keep showing up for yourself at scary moments and you go for it anyway. Like,
yeah. And you come out fine the other side.
Yeah. And like confidence is developed through action and experience. Cockiness is developed through like inflated ego.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Like
they're two different things.
Yeah. And this book really talks about that. Like like confidence doesn't come from the inside out. It moves from the outside in. People feel less anxious and more confident on the inside when they can point to the things they have done well on the outside. Real confidence comes from the mastery of experiences, which are actual lived moments of success, especially when things seem difficult. Whether we're talking about love or work, the confidence that overrides insecurity comes from experience. There's no other way. And this is, so many people talk about this right now, but that's the issue, right? I feel like we can walk out of high school, right? We get told that like that time of your life is like the best time of your life. That's when you create yourself. And then you walk out with all this confidence, right? Or you have that in college too. And then you go out into the real world and you're like, well, I actually haven't experienced anything. I don't have reason to have any confidence. And it throws people off so much. Like it threw me off for sure. Yeah, it threw me off too. And it's like and that's like the way that we should really focus it, right? You're not living like the best part of your life unless you like make it that way in those years, in your like your high school years and your college years. Like that's not meant to be the best part of your life, but that is supposed to be the foundation of like the self-development, like the self-defining aspect of your life. Like that's the foundation of that. So like instead of saying, and I know I've heard like on both ends, like there are people out there who say like this, not saying like this is the best time of your life, go enjoy it, but like this is the time of your life where you make decisions that are going to have an impact on you. Think about choices you're making. And I feel like that would just,
that's a different way to say it. I mean, we should say it that way.
Yeah, like not the like YOLO thing that sends people out to the villages when there's a pandemic, but like a thing that says like, this is the defining part of your life, and it's not meant to scare you, but like you really should. And it's hard. How do you take a brain that's not like that's just like the hormones and like put it on a path? It's just very complicated, which is like, thank God
also
ability to live longer now.
Yeah, well that too. Also, it's like you don't really like when we're 16 to like 21, like really are we listening to like
No, and I wasn't. Like,
no one was. I wasn't. I was like, yeah, bullshit. Like I still don't listen.
Perfect example of this. I remember all the time.
Yeah.
Bad time to take a bite, but
yeah.
I remember all the time. I don't know if you remember any of this, but I had so many issues early on in like puberty.
Yeah.
Dealing with my period.
Okay.
For all these testings and like all these scary things. And I didn't get my period until I was like almost 17. I was super frustrated about it. I was like, why do I have this? Blah, 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 blah. And I remember like, because it feels like a rite of passage, right? But like, we don't know any better to know how much it actually sucks to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And little did I know like all the extra things that would come along as issues for me in having it. So, but I remember the women of my family who had all experienced it were like, it's fine, you don't want it to come. Like, it's like just, it's fine, it'll work itself out. And I was just so...
You're just frustrated.
Impatient about it and wanting it. And it's like, we just don't have, like, the teenage brain just doesn't have the capacity. Like, it just doesn't. And we don't, like, create environment to help it at all. So it's just...
And, like, I don't know why. Is that just... I don't know. Like, I think that's just... I don't know.
Well, I think it raises... Do you want to know what I personally think? And these two books definitely make me think about it more. It's like when you, and we're seeing it now with COVID too, like we don't talk enough. There's so much psychological research, and like these fields are huge things, and like mental health is like a big thing, but it like sits in like the underground, and we don't talk about it. And like the human behavior like is like the foundation of like how, like if you have the ability to understand human behavior and like the way we think and why.
Yeah.
If we have the ability to tap into that, that should really be like the foundation of how we go about everything, right? Like of how we go about raising our kids and putting them through systems and stuff like that. But like it's just not.
No, it's ingrained in culture is how we function.
Right. It's not, Right. And you don't need to, like, and not to say like we have to do that, because there are so many like indigenous countries and other countries that don't have access to this, and I'm sure they do like just great. But there's also a totally different like span of how, like, the way that people live. If you're being raised to be a part of a community where like it's very cultural, it's very communal, like you're not interacting with a lot of other people, right? You know, like you're gonna do you have a path that's already laid out for you, which brings its own like issues. But like there's maybe things are very strict and very regimented, so maybe there's less room for like that wading in the water, right? And not
well, there's also less like thought into, like there's no thought into that,
right?
So the whole different,
there's less psychology definitely being
right,
for sure.
Right.
But when we live in a society where like we have all of this,
it's like we have all these opportunities and the knowledge and like the choices,
and the way we live is very, very different, and like on like some subsequent level of whether we realize it or not is actually really based off of all this stuff. And that's like so much of the afterthought, right? Just like with, again, what we're experiencing with the pandemic, like we don't look to this stuff to be like informative to help us until after it's too late. So it's like, what would the world look like if like everyone, I mean, I'm not saying this is like a necessity, but like if everyone had to really understand some level of psychology like for themselves and like to bring another life into the world.
Oh God.
And like went through all of it's just like I know it could be a double-edged sword, but like so, and I'm saying this as a total like nerd, like I'm totally biased, like psychology was my minor, like I love talking about human behavior and like understanding people's reasons and why they think. But it's like what the reason why I read books like this is because I want to be better. And
for sure.
Better is if I understand what the is going on in my head.
Absolutely.
Can make better assessments and judgments off of it. So like,
and the only thing you can do to better other people is to be like, you should read this book.
Right. Or just be like, hey, this is what I did. And that's exactly why we're doing this, right? That's why we're having these conversations. It's why I do what I do. It's like you can talk from your own experiences and things and potentially.
But there's always a wall though. There's always a wall.
There always is. I get into so many conversations. Right, where people don't want to, like, where it just doesn't, they don't see it as relevant and don't think it's valuable information. And that's totally fine. That's fine. But it's like, if you have questions to things, or like you don't, if you have, if you're like, why is something like this? Why is it like this? There are so many things in the world.
There's so many things you can do.
We don't have answers to. And like, you have to, like, what happens after you die? You're not going to get
no one's going to give you a straight answer.
And you just have to deal with it. But like, you also, for like being such a world that wants the instant gratification of having information, like you can have the lock and key, like locks, the keys to the locks of your brain to help you understand yourself better. In so many of these resources that are out there, people are just, I feel, and I don't even think, I don't want to say that people are choosing not to. I just feel like people are not in a situation where they feel like they can't look at it as a priority because of all the other shit they have to do to survive every day.
That's exactly why some people don't read, because it's not a priority to them compared to everything else that's going on in the world. Which, I mean, you can't knock them for that. Like, that's not. And
it seems, and it's the way that it seems like daunting. Like I have those days, like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the book that
I have that's on my to-read list.
That neither of us have read yet because that book is massive sized.
Not even that.
That's my issue with it.
Because I opened it, I read the intro, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so heavy. Like, I don't know if I have the brain capacity to do it right now. Which I also have this other book. It's about racism in America. It's like, why are all the black kids sitting together in the cafeteria? Have you read it?
Right.
Is that the original one? This is like the.
You want to laugh though?
20th anniversary edition.
We had to read this in grad school.
Nice.
Part of like the inclusive psychology and learning.
I am 116 pages in, and it's taken me months because it's so heavy. But like, I have like random notes in here. But yeah, no, it's even like for us that have the luxury of reading and like having the time to read. Sometimes like I can't because it's not. Like my headspace cannot.
Oh yeah.
Can't like process like a heavier book like that. So then I'll just read like a random nonfiction memoir book or some.
And definitely.
Or I'll reread Harry Potter. Like
You definitely have to have like a balance. It goes back to like the same thing of like watching those, like watching TV shows that you don't have, that are mindless.
Literally. I'm literally
That's what
juxtaposing
you
this
need.
book with this really funny YouTuber's like memoir book.
That's so funny. But that's what I
So
have to
it's
do. I
like,
have to read like a nonfiction book at night, or like a fiction book at night, to like take the heaviness off, and then something more intense in the morning. But I'm not gonna lie, full transparency. Like when I look at a book, like I said, I want to reread this book. Look at this thing.
I know.
So
It's daunting.
that's what becomes daunting to me, like the initial, like first physical experience of picking up a book.
And it's like when you have to open it too, you're like, all right, what font size is this? Because I'm like, if this is font
The
size,
amount of time that I've spent like inspecting like the weight of having to read a book and how much time it will take me, I probably could have been a couple chapters in.
yes, exactly.
It really honestly comes down to
it comes down to the substance of what the book is about.
and like the consistency. Like you don't have to finish the book in a day, and
No.
you don't have to read a whole chapter a day, but it's like I try to set like a time limit to read like 15 to 20 minutes.
I set page numbers because I'm an asshole.
I can't do that to myself anymore, because when I used to do that to myself, then I would get mad at myself when I didn't do that. And that right there is how I started taking confidence away from myself.
Really?
Because you build confidence.
Oh yeah, because you build, yeah. And then if you don't do it, you're like, well, I'm an idiot.
And then then you're hard on yourself. And I'm, like I said, my own worst enemy. So I literally just said, like, you have to read for this length of time. And
it could be 1 page, it could be 50, like whatever.
Yep. It's finding those, like, that's what I've had to learn a lot for myself, is like finding the loopholes to be nicer.
To do better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to be nicer to myself, so that you can actually be in a mind space, a head space where you can actually accomplish things and feel good about yourself. And reading really does create that.
Yeah.
And it's,
if you click with a book, like it's like,
yeah. And it's crazy to me, like, sorry, we're gonna get into like disrupting systems for a brief moment. So like, hold on, let me scroll back.
Okay.
So of course I have separate libraries. I have like my dance science, like research library, and then I have like my I enjoy reading these things library.
Leisure.
But like, here's the thing that bothers me about higher education.
Oh God.
I can take a course, and it's not to say, like, I just like posted about this today. Like, going to school was an amazing experience. I'm happy I did it. Was it the greatest time of my life? No. Was high school the greatest time of my life? No, which is good, because that means it's yet to come. But what I don't understand is why and this isn't, I really can't say this off of my dance courses, because so many of the courses that I took in dance and really in graduate school were not like this. There's so much more value being input, so I can understand like monetarily why I have to pay for it. But like, let's talk about any of my psychology classes, like Psychology 101. We go and buy a book that costs more money than it should, and then I have to spend all this money on sitting in a lecture and like getting information when I could have just read the book.
Right. I mean, that's just the system.
Because and I, like, having been on the other end of like creating college level courses, like, it's off of a reading resource, and you are just the person who builds the bridge to people to get there.
Analyze it.
Valid. Like, that's what an educator does. That's totally valid. People need that, but like, that's why, like, you don't have to stop learning. Like, if there's an area that you're interested in, just get the book.
Oh my God, keep going. Yeah, for sure.
And like and that was what my entire like world has been. Like with like learning about the body and everything. That's been what I've done. Like, it doesn't have to stop, but like the end of the day really becomes like, books are never going to stop being the center of our resources for potential learning and education and knowledge. Like, we are valid resources for each other, but so many people nowadays are getting so much of their information from the things that they're reading. And like the multi-million-dollar like people that are like at the 1% who have done amazing in the business world, so many of them, didn't complete going through our education system, but they went out and they just grabbed as many books as they possibly can and just had their face in them forever. And then shared that information. So it's like, books really hold the key to not only like helping you expand your imagination,
but learn more about yourself.
Develop yourself, learn about yourself, and like learn about other things, like things that are outside of your realm. Like I said, I never would have known about what like beach life and the history of like the South is like unless I picked up a book and read about it.
Yeah.
So books are magical. That's the
the key. Books
that's
are
the summarization of this.
I mean,
My Instagram is literally a highlight that says level up, and it's all about books.
Honestly, like, there's just so much that you can, there's just so much. There's so many books that appeals to everyone. It really does come down to, like, your priority. It's such a luxury, honestly.
Yeah,
that's, like, the
true.
sad part, you know? Like, to sit down and read for 15 minutes, sometimes it's just impossible for people. Because they just can't do it, and, like, that's what sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, it does take some like level of sacrifice, right? Like I had to, in order to like make my routine for being able to read, like I had to say like you have to wake up earlier, right? Or like you have to put back burner. Like that self-development is on my list of priorities.
Because you get so used to being so stagnant. Like these days, like a bunch of, and I'm guilty of this. Like I'll want to read, but I'll just literally sit on my phone for 2 hours. I was supposed to be reading, or like I'll go play video games, which is also that's a whole different thing too. Like playing video games and like the impact on like people, like that's a whole different story. But like, but yeah, I mean, you have to break another habit of just being complacent, which is so hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard, but it's a magical thing, and it's fun to see.
It's fun to see other people's book choices, because I don't know if anyone would have guessed. Like, F. Scott Fitzgerald is my favorite author. Like,
that's not surprising to me. But I mean,
well,
like,
if you knew me,
right.
But, yeah, no, it's fun. Books are fun. I've always read. It's funny because my parents did not read. Like, none of my family reads. It's the funniest thing. So I don't know where I picked this up from.
That is really interesting.
I think it was honestly Harry Potter, which is the funniest thing because like
all it takes is one.
It does, because like I saw the first movie, and I was super intrigued, and then the second book was out, so I read that and I was just like hooked. I was like, all right, I have to keep reading.
Yeah, it just becomes like, it's a good Pandora's box that you like open for yourself when you find something that you like and that you want to dive into. It's awesome.
There's so many genres.
Tell us if you are listening to us, or if you're watching us. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, drop in the comments below what your favorite books are, or your genres are. If you're listening to us on SoundCloud right now, reach out to us on Instagram or email us. Tell us what you're reading, because we could probably do like 300 more episodes about books.
On books, specific books, like we can go on for an hour about Defining Decade.
Yeah, we could literally turn this entire podcast into like
a reading club, like a book club.
Yeah, like a book club where you guys can just learn stuff, and we can just learn stuff, which is what we're doing more of every day. Yeah, books, man. Good. I'm so happy we got all this out of the way.
I know, out of the way.
Out of the way. Now I don't have to talk about books anymore. Because it was bothering me that we kept referring to the Defining Decade, but didn't give enough information to people about it. Yeah. So
we can do another episode on it. I mean, that book I feel like evolves as you grow up too.
Yeah, which is why it's definitely, you want to keep it in like, just like Brene Brown's, like it's definitely a book that you want to keep and like revisit. Super cool. Oh, and also I want to like throw this in, when we can like go back outside, like go to your library.
Go to your library?
Your library is, guys, I spend so much time in libraries. Your library is such a sanctuary. It really is. Of just like, and it's funny because I remember going to school when we were in elementary school. Yeah. My mother used to pick me up from the library across the street.
It's a good library for that town.
Yeah, and
honestly,
have you been there recently?
I haven't been there recently.
I started offering like yoga classes there for like seniors. Just to like give back, because I spent so many years in that library.
I also volunteered in that library. It's a good library.
It's awesome. Yeah. And like they did a lot of stuff to revamp it. And there's so many more resources than like people actually realize and take advantage of. And like it's just such a wonderful place. I can't explain.
Such a good library. I just love libraries too. I haven't been one in forever.
They're oh my god, they're amazing. The one in my town,
Really?
So good. Oh
I
my
can
God.
only imagine. I mean, your town, yeah. I'm sure they have
It's
fun.
so, oh my God, it's so, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And movie, and like more than like just books, right? Like movies and like
There's movies,
activities and like
audiobooks.
learning. Yeah, audiobooks, all like so just so much fun. Like so much fun stuff. And the greatest part is like a lot of really so many programs have built up that like there's something for everybody. Like there's something for your kids, there's something for you, there's something for your like your older family members. There really is
Mhm.
for everybody. And that's what maybe that's the beauty, like at the center of all of it too, right? Books create like a level playing field
Yeah.
for all of us.
Mhm.
Because anybody can, and
Anyone
that's
can
like
access it.
even if you can't purchase a book, like there are libraries, and a lot of towns, like I know like our county, like all of their libraries now share resources.
Yep.
You can get them from anywhere. Like a lot
Mhm.
of towns are trying. So take advantage of it. Whether you want to like use it to escape to another world or learn something about yourself or something else, like
Mhm.
books are beautiful.
And maybe, I was thinking about it, maybe not even books, just articles, like news articles online. Just like little snippets here and there. Like
Ooh, I
that also
that.
is a resource.
That's true. That's true. I have an issue with those though.
Oh,
I've,
okay.
I've recently come into the understanding of how affiliate marketing works online.
Oh, well, yeah. Maybe I was thinking not
And
maybe news articles, but like op-ed pieces, because
okay, yeah.
because I follow a couple of people on Twitter that are like, they talk about mental health and like they blog post it or like they get published in like, bigger sites or whatever. And those are like quick, like 5-10 minute reads. And like those are
Yeah.
very educational. So
Yeah,
like
things that are
a
informative.
majority of people now have access to internet, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the ability
So
to
they
find.
search on, right. So just go, if you want to learn about something, just Google it.
Yeah.
That's all the thing.
Yeah.
Just read. Honestly, just read anything.
Read anything. And it's funny because and it's so true too, because like I used to give Dan such a hard time about like not reading, and I never would I never understood it. And like I personally went through my own phase of being like, I don't want to read anymore. I read so much in school, I'm done. I don't want to read ever again.
I get tired. Yeah, even I stopped reading too. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Like I don't want to keep.
It's your soul is just depleted.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I love that you said like articles and stuff, because he will go in on like articles that he sees on his phone, and like that's why he likes Twitter, I think, so much too, because he can like really read like things that people post and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's just, and like he does read too, so it's just interesting how people take different, like I'm a very visual person, I'm a very physical experience person, so like reading stuff on an article online, like my eyeballs just want to roll out of my head. But like
Yeah.
different in like the way we want to take in information, and like you said, there are like resources and opportunities to take in the information, like whatever works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Exactly. That's the end point.
That's our end period, and is finished. That is our book about books.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. See, look, this worked out so well.
It did. It always does. Every week somehow.
Yeah, for the hopefully not perpetual, because that'd be sad. For the foreseeable, as far as we know, future right now, we're gonna stay virtual because we want to one day be back together doing this.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, for the time being, we will be Zoom.
Yeah, so that still means that people, like, we have the ability to like bring people into the show. So if you're somebody who I've been connecting with a bunch of different like random people that are like actually like budding.
Mm-hmm.
I think of the word. Hold on. I'm like, this is my brain, guys.
It's fine.
It's the word. I see it. So close. Amateur. There we go. Ooh, that's a hot second.
Are you serious?
If I ever get like, I don't even know, amnesia or
you're screwed.
Alzheimer's develops, and it's like something that's common in my family, like I'm in real trouble.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, amateur like podcasters. So like if you have a podcast or you have a passion or there's something you want to talk about and advocate for, even like when we had our first group of people on that had like passion projects they're working on, come on and talk to us about it.
Yeah.
We want to hear about what you're doing. We want to be able to support your projects, especially right now, and spend a little time together. So reach out.
Yep.
We'd be more than honored to have you join us. And we will see you guys on the next episode.
Goodbye.
All right, bye.